Welcome, everyone. Allow me to introduce to Bruce and Clara from the Databricks data platform team. They'll be leading this presentation on stop guessing and spend it where it counts, data-driven decisions for high-impact investments on Databricks. Make sure that you look at the forward-looking statement. So something, we have to do. But without further ado, I'll let you guys to kick off the presentation.
So Marc Andreessen, legendary investor. Okay? In 2011, he was famous for this quote: "Software is eating the world." And he wrote a blog post about software is eating the world. This was in 2011, and this set off a good renaissance of investments into software companies. Arguably, Databricks is actually here thanks to this investment thesis that software is eating the world. So, legendary investor. Fast forward, 2023, Marc Andreessen had another blog post about how AI can make everything better, everything we care about, better. It was his blog post about how AI will save the world. Fast forward to this year, 2025. I think everyone knows this is the year of AI. In February, big tech companies like Meta, Amazon, Alphabet, Microsoft all announced their plans to spend more than $300 billion combined on AI. $300 billion. To put $300 billion in perspective, I did a little math for us all. You could buy 423 billion cans of Coca-Cola. Or you could buy the company Coca-Cola. You could buy 12 million Toyota Corollas. Or you could buy the company Toyota. And of course, you could buy 60 billion Starbucks coffees. Or you could buy Starbucks 3 times. And I did the math for us. You could buy 4 trillion model-serving DBUs. Or you could buy a few Databricks. So, needless to say, there's a lot of ways to spend $300 billion. In 2025, nearly every company is investing in AI. AI is truly starting to change everything. Now, unlike those big tech companies, most of us don't have $300 billion sitting around to invest in AI. So, what this talk is about figuring out how to make the most of your money. And so today we're going to talk about how to actually conserve and save some money in Databricks so that you can free up some money to invest in AI. Okay? So that's what will be. That's the goal of today, is to talk about these things. My goal is that all of you have at least one actionable thing you can take back to go save yourself some money, okay? So a little bit more about me before we start. So my name is Bruce Wong. I am the head of our data platform engineering group. And I saw the hyper-growth years at companies like Netflix, Twilio, and Stitch Fix. I also saw how these companies use data and AI across the entirety of their business, and also how expensive it gets as well. And so I really saw some of the common things and common challenges around cost management, around attribution, around all these issues around multiple different companies at different things. So same problem, different context, okay? So now that you got to know a little bit about me, what the talk's about, I want to know a little bit about you all. So how many people like to save money here? Not everyone, right? Some people are savers, some people, right? Okay, most of the audience. How many of you like to spend money? All right, yeah. Sometimes that's like, some people like to save and some people like to spend, okay. All right, last one. How many of you like to invest money? Yeah. All right, stock market, crypto, right? Okay. So the point is, we all like money somehow, whether you're spending it, whether you're saving it. or you're investing in it, right? So this talk is about money, and we're gonna try to save you some so that you can free up some money to actually invest in those AI, all the AI things that you want to invest in. And to help me with that, I'd like to invite up Clara, who's going to take you on a journey that we went through internally. Okay, so Clara comes from, she came from Amazon, she also went to Stanford, and she can tell you a lot more about our entire journey on how we actually saved millions and millions of dollars at Databricks.
Thanks for the great introduction. As Bruce said, I'm Clara, a software engineer on our data platform team. I want to help you save money by sharing lessons we've learned managing cost for Databricks on Databricks. Now, what makes this hard? Why are you all here? If cost was easy, we wouldn't need finance teams, we wouldn't need budgets. It would just work. We all know that money is one of the hardest things to manage, whether it's in business or our personal lives. So I want to tell you a little story about why cost can be so difficult for engineering teams and especially data platform teams. It's been my experience. It might be familiar to some of you. Now you get started. You're a scrappy startup, or maybe a new product. You want to grow at any cost. So when the product team says, hey, we need to get our insights back to customers sooner. We need to process our logs faster. You're on it. No problem, right? You build a really fast platform. You're processing those logs really quickly. And it works. Customers are happy. The product's growing. What's your reward for more customers? Well, now you have a compliance team, and they say, hey, we have contractual obligations we need to meet. We need to make sure we're completely in alignment with local regulations. So now we need to process our logs in a compliant manner. But that's okay. You're an engineer. You can do it all. So you now add on additional steps to your pipeline for processing logs. Now they're processed in a compliant manner. And sure, you're having to process logs in extra time, but that's okay. And what do you get? Well, now your customers trust you. You have a reputation in the business. So you gain more customers. Customers are willing to spend more on you. That's great, right? You keep growing. And your reward this time? Now there's a finance team. And they're saying, whoa, why are we spending this much money on logs every year? As your customer base has grown, so is the amount of money you're spending on a lot of your core data platform systems. And the reality is, this is exactly what being an engineer is like on a data platform. You're dealing with requests for new features, for improvements on existing features, and all the while, the finance team is saying, why are we spending this much money on our data platform team? Balancing cost feels like playing whack-a-mole as an engineer. You fix the cost of one pipeline only to have the amount of cost you're spending on storage double overnight because a customer is suddenly producing a ton of new data you're having to process. And as a data platform team at Databricks, we've decided to create a lot of shared resources. These are resources we manage. We're the experts. We're freeing up people internally to do their work and not have to worry about managing them. But this comes with a cost. We deal with a lot of misaligned incentives where people are incurring spend through compute pipelines or through additional storage, but not paying the cost because they're using a shared resource we're managing. It's a classic tragedy of the commons. And so we're also dealing with managing the cost for systems we don't always have complete insight into the purpose or use of. Now, this all came for a head for us because the dirty little secret is the CEOs, VPs, and founders, they want it all. They don't want to hear, sorry, you have to pick between your logs being delivered cheaply or quickly or compliantly. They want to just hear, yep, I'm on it. The logs will be delivered fast and in a compliant manner and without any additional cost to the company. This is exactly what happened to our data platform team. It all came to a head. We are being asked to save tens of millions of dollars each year to fund new initiatives. We want to build new products, improve existing products without increasing our bottom line. And the reality was our leadership realized we didn't have the ability to do that. I was being pulled into tons of ad hoc meetings, writing up new notebooks, new queries, trying to help our executive team understand where we were spending. But we didn't have simple answers to really simple questions, like what are our highest spend areas? What would happen if we changed how much data we were processing? How long we retained these logs for? We didn't know where our savings opportunities were. We were just fumbling in the dark, hoping to just happen upon tens of millions of dollars of savings. That's not a strategy. And the really sad part was this was just the culmination of years of poor cost management. I've been firefighting for the last several quarters. Every couple months, a new small cost incident would happen. I'd run off, tamp down that part of the platform, and then get back in budget. But that just doesn't work long term. As we grew, as we had more customers, that wasn't scaling. We knew we had to be better. So what was our solution? We decided to build the ROAD program. This was an internal framework that allowed us to get rid of that reactive approach to cost. So what is ROAD? ROAD was our internal way of redirecting all cost away from that reactive penny-pinching approach back to a more proactive cost engineering approach. This allowed us to frame everything we were doing back to how we're improving the overall system, instead of just having those firefighting heroic efforts that helped the short-term incident but did nothing to improve the long-term situation. We start with review. Review is all about having a single source of truth. You need to review your costs and be able to say exactly what you're spending money on. No more gut feelings, no more intuitions about what you're doing. You should just know, right? It's cold, hard numbers. Then we get into organize. Organize is being able to attribute costs back. Especially for cross-platform teams, it's really important to be able to say who your users are, which projects are incurring what spend. This is also important for being able to give that information at the right level to execs in a summary way. I cannot emphasize enough how important the visibility is. As an engineer, it's really tempting to just jump right in and say, let's save some money. But you need the visibility. You need to have confidence in what you're doing before you do it. We were definitely working without visibility for far too long, and it really hindered us and cost us material dollars. Once you have that visibility, then we can move into adjusting. Adjusting is all about continuous optimization in the background, picking the right defaults, taking the choice away from the user and just telling them what to do, making sure that you're using the right storage type, for example. You want to create a program that is also feeding back into itself. It's not a one-time thing, it's just continuous in the background. And finally, decommission. Decommission can be some of the greatest win-wins. It's all about removing things you're just not even using. If you're not using something, why are you paying a cloud provider for it? But decommissioning is also one of the riskiest things, especially for a platform team. It's scary to think of potentially deleting a really important pipeline or data set. You don't want to do that, especially when it's someone else's pipeline or data set you're looking at. And so you need to have confidence in your data to understand what's costing what and who's using that for what purpose. Once you have confidence, then you can actually go into decommissioning without fear of causing an incident. So ROAD allows us to move out of that reactive mode into a proactive, confident approach to cost management. What does this actually look like? Well, we use Databricks. As Bruce mentioned, we're all about Databricks on Databricks. All of our internal data systems are managed using Databricks workspaces, using storage processed on Databricks. And so, of course, we were going to use it for our cost management too. So we started out with improving our visibility. As I mentioned, this is that crucial beginning step. It can feel a little bit boring, but it really sets you up for success. We started with reviewing, getting that single source of truth. Metric Store was really important for us. This is an internal product that was actually so successful, we've turned it into part of the Databricks product. You can attend a great talk tomorrow about metric views here at Summit. Metric Store allows us to define a clear metric on many different dimensions. For us, our metric is cost, how many dollars we're spending, and we use dimensions like the project that it's for, who created it, what are the regions or clouds where this cost is being incurred. That allows us to get out of that situation where multiple execs are asking the same question and getting different answers because we have a clear source of truth for our data. We also bring in Unity Catalog. We are 100% on Unity Catalog in our main workspace. That for us has been so important for bringing in more data to our cost. Being able to have that source of truth information using Unity Catalog lineage about who is doing what within the workspace. We can bring that data into cost and then get rid of concerns such as, what if someone's actually using this data and we just don't know? We know. We have lineage to show no one is reading or writing it. Once we have that source of truth data using Unity Catalog and Metric Store, then we can actually organize it. AI BI dashboards have been great for this. We use Unity Catalog, secured data, so every AI BI dashboard has that same governance, and we can up-level insights to our executive team, to senior directors like Bruce, and give them the ability to get any sort of nuance they want without having to write their own notebook or query, or more accurately, pull a software engineer like me in to write it for them. Once we have that information up-level, we can also enhance it using system tables. System tables, if you aren't using them, I highly recommend. They give you so much high-fidelity information about what everyone in your workspace is doing. It has information about compute, about storage, and everything in between. I've really enjoyed being able to join this information with cost data to be able to say not just, okay, we have this table, but also here's every pipeline that is downstream and upstream, here's the dashboards that are using this data. That sort of information is really crucial. Now there's an important point I want to make about this visibility. It's all possible using Unity Catalog. You do not get metric views without Unity Catalog. Of course, you don't get Unity Catalog lineage. And getting the strong governance on cost data with AI/BI dashboards or getting all the fidelity of information through system tables isn't possible without Unity Catalog. So if you're not on Unity Catalog, you're really just hindering yourself when it comes to cost visibility. You're going to have to build a lot of your own data when you could be getting it through the product. So once you know what you're spending and where you're spending, then you can actually move into the exciting part, the direct cost savings. Getting direct cost savings often feels like kind of walking through an orchard. The goal is you want to get a really nice, juicy, ripe piece of fruit, preferably at eye level. You don't want to scrape your knees and scramble up the tree only to discover that actually the birds picked over all the fruit and the only ones left are unripe or have a worm in them. With cost savings, we want to make sure we're getting the most bang for our buck. I'm not a cost engineer. I'm a software engineer. If I'm spending months on a cost project, I'm not working on building out a new platform feature or improving an existing pipeline. As a result, we want to make sure we use the finite engineering resources we have to get the most dollar savings we can. So, how do we actually do this? This is probably why many of you are here, to learn about the direct case studies and approaches we used with Databricks technology. Even if these aren't directly applicable to your workspaces or your internal data systems, I hope you can still take away some overarching meta lessons we learned along the way. So, these approaches we're going to be evaluating on a metric of investment and impact. You can think of this as that how nice of a fruit did you get and how far up did you have to climb. Because we all have limited resources, we're looking for something that's low investment and preferably getting the most money saved, the highest impact. So it's really important to, once you've tried something out, right, you've built some particular system, you can actually assess how successful it was. This framework allows us to do that assessment. So let's get right into it. Our first case study is instance pools. For those who aren't familiar, instance pools are essentially a precursor to serverless. They allow you, as a workspace admin, to manage your own pool of compute for users in the workspace. You have to do the managing. And, to be honest, we weren't doing a great job managing it. Don't tell Bruce. The reality was, we had just kind of let the instance pools sit around in our workspaces. We kept on increasing the size, and anyone could access them. We have thousands of users. We didn't really know what was in the instance pools, and we didn't really care for a long time. But then we were scaling up, and we realized that our cost on instance pools was a significant portion of our spend. And we couldn't even justify to our leadership, oh yeah, we definitely need this. For all we knew, these were scheduled jobs that no one was looking at. So we needed to get more information. This is where system tables came in. We were able to work with system tables to see who was doing what in the instance pools. And we realized we had just misconfigured them. We looked at some of the workloads, we talked to some of the users of them, and we realized that they could actually use a much smaller compute for the instance pools. They were just grabbing what we gave them, which was very powerful compute, but they didn't need it. We could see information like utilization rates using system tables. Further, we realized we'd set the wrong number of idle pools, especially as the company moved towards serverless internally. More and more people were using that instead of these pools. But we hadn't changed the number of idle instances. So we had to do a migration. It took some work to move over to a new set of instance pools. We had to create the new ones, get the right settings in place. But we went down by 50% on our overall cost. That was huge savings for us after years of this cost only going in one direction. Imagine what you could do if all your compute costs went down by 50%. It probably can't, but maybe it could. You need the visibility to see what's going on and assess whether or not your current settings are appropriate. So this took some work. We had to do that whole migration, but the savings were noticeable. This ends up in the worth it category for us. Yes, we had to invest the time. It took an engineer a couple weeks, but we brought that cost down long-term for us. We no longer have to be as concerned about the cost of these pools because we know we've picked appropriate instance types for those ad hoc analysis notebooks and small jobs that are running on them. Now, spending less is always great, but what when you know the pipelines better, when you're more confident about what is going on with them? Well, that's a great use case for Photon. Photon is Databricks' next generation engine for the lakehouse. It's basically a single click of a button, either in the UI or in however you set up your jobs through code, and you just get Photon. It can make things run a lot faster. Indeed, we had an intern who just took a couple days familiarizing herself with a code base, reaching out to pipeline owners, turned on Photon for a bunch of jobs, and saved us several times what we paid our intern that summer in just a couple days of work. And that was awesome, right? Just a few clicks of the button. We could ever do it confidently because this is a well-supported product feature. On the other hand, we did the same thing after that success on some of our pipelines and saw no change to cost whatsoever. We talked to the Photon team and realized it was actually because of how we configured those workloads, the type of work they were doing. They weren't a good use case for Photon. They fell into an edge case. But we had the cost data to know where it was working. That's a really important point. It seems so basic, but the reality is a few years ago, we might not have had that. If you just don't know what you're spending money on and you enable Photon everywhere, you can't know what impact it actually made. You might see your overall cost number change, but you don't know, is that spread across all pipelines? Is it just a few pipelines where it's really making a difference? And we should really prioritize training on Photon for pipelines like that. So for us, this is a really powerful data point about needing to be able to validate how your projects are working and what the impact of any changes you're making are. We had clear data about what our pipelines were costing. So we could clearly look at, oh, we turned on Photon, and the next day the cost went down by 30%. We should clearly leave it on. Versus, oh, we turned on Photon and didn't really see anything. No need to push that into prod. We can just leave that, right? So for in the end, Photon was kind of in the middle. Sometimes it turned out really well. Sometimes it didn't turn out quite so well. We needed the data to validate after the fact and then take that learning forward to where we wanted to enable Photon in the future. But speaking of data and validation, the worst case is not just that you don't always save money. I want to tell you about my pet project, failing jobs. I had looked and noticed in our workspace we had a lot of jobs failing. Many of our jobs ended in failures, and using system tables, I realized a lot of these jobs failed every single time. We had jobs that I could not find a single successful run in the last 90 days. This seemed like a no-brainer. Get rid of tech debt, get rid of all these failing jobs, save a bunch of money, right? I spent weeks on this. I convinced my management this is a big problem, spent all this time building out a really robust system, notifying owners, creating an opt-out system, creating a time lag to allow owners to cure their jobs and fix them. I rolled out the system, I was seeing that failure rate go down, and then there were no cost savings. Zero, did not even show up. Well, why? I had made a wrong assumption. I should have been looking at how much compute time was on failure. Because the reality was most of those jobs failing every time never started a cluster. They had an invalid DBR, a user without permissions to create clusters, or a library that didn't even exist. So even though they failed every time, it was a single API call that just failed. That doesn't actually cost much money. On the other hand, successful runs inherently are always going to cost some money. They started up compute. I could have done the validation. System tables had all the information I needed. I didn't even realize the assumption I was making. So you can probably guess where this goes. This is a waste of time. I spent weeks building this and not any other part of the platform, and we did not save any money. It was a really important lesson for me. You have to validate what you're doing, because we were just kind of assuming things would work out from the cost, and we didn't take the time to really match with cost data to confirm it would. And the thing is, with just a little tweaking, a little bit more validation, the story does change. After this, we had an intern who came along, and we had her identify some pipelines that were writing to tables that no one was using. Same thing with system tables, but this time we did join with the cost data and confirmed that these were actually incurring some cost. It wasn't a huge amount, but it wasn't nothing either. It was still, once again, more than an intern cost for a summer. So we reached out to the owners and told them, hey, looks like no one's actually using these pipelines. They're succeeding, but maybe you could just turn them off? And sure enough, the answer was yes. Yeah, you're right, we're not using these anymore. With Unity Catalog Lineage, we were actually confident reaching out to them. No one was using them. We could see that downstream data was no longer being used. So, no major savings, but some, and pretty low effort using system tables. This is up in the why not category. We cleaned up some tech debt, we got some savings. And I think that that just really, for me, was a good lesson that once you've been able to validate your assumptions, bring in the cost data, bring in the system tables, then we were actually confident saying, oh yeah, spend a few days on that. We could time box it and say, as long as that doesn't take too long, we're confident we're going to get some savings. Now, for our final one, I like to end on a high, so I'll spoil it in advance. We're going to talk about a win-win, but hopefully you'll see why soon. Predictive optimization. I'm going to tell you all about this in a second, but first I want to set the stage. As I mentioned, we're 100% on Unity Catalog for our main workspace. As a result, we provide a metastore for all the employees in the company to use. This is the mother of all shared resources problems. We have over 140,000 Unity Catalog managed tables in this metastore, used by around 8,000 employees all over the globe in every single business unit. We do not have the ability to chase down every single owner and ask them, why are you using this table? How important is it? Do you really need all this data stored? And so our cost was just growing and growing and growing. We saw our costs grow by 140% in 10 months. That is not a sustainable growth rate. We knew we just couldn't allow this to continue. But, as I mentioned, decommissioning is scary. I didn't want to delete some tables I thought weren't being used, and then have someone say, no, 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 I know I wasn't reading that data, but I actually was going to use it next week, I promise. And I just caused an incident. We also had some intuition that probably some of these tables just need to be vacuumed or cleaned up, even if the current snapshots could exist. But once again, we risk cleaning up some really important data. Then I heard about predictive optimization. Predictive optimization is a product feature. It uses artificial intelligence to analyze Unity Catalog managed tables and decide when it's appropriate to vacuum, liquid cluster, or optimize those tables. It does it in the background using serverless compute, so all you have to do is flip on one button, and then it's going to do the analysis and the actions for you forever. It sounded too good to be true. They were making a lot of claims about how much money we were going to save and how easy it was going to be, and we were a little bit skeptical, right? There's no free lunch in life. And so, I pitched it to Bruce, I pitched it to my tech lead, and we decided, well, it seems pretty easy, right? It's just going to be a single flip of a switch. Worst case, we don't get any savings, and then at least we can tell the product team, well, we tried, right? Yours, it just didn't work the way you said it would. So we turned it on. It was very easy. And we saw over a third of our costs disappear basically overnight with zero effort from us. Perhaps even more importantly, as a software engineer for the data platform, we had zero complaints on over 140,000 tables we enabled them on. That is my dream as an engineer. I'm not being pinged in a Slack channel late at night saying, you've caused an incident, you need to join a war room right now. No, not a single incident. And it's truly been in the background. We haven't had to manage it at all. It hasn't just lowered our storage by 1/3. It's also lowered our growth rate because it's continuously cleaning up every single day hundreds of terabytes of data. This means we're keeping it at a lower rate because our garbage is just disappearing from us. So, I already told you where this is going to go, but hopefully now it's clear why. This is a total win-win. I love predictive optimization. It has made storage so much easier to manage for us. And it's only available because we're on Unity Catalog. So for me, it isn't just that predictive optimization is great, and you all should use it if you're not already. It's also a great reminder that is why we try to stay abreast of all the newest products, so we can take advantage of them. If we hadn't done the migration to Unity Catalog, we would be completely locked out of great product features like this. So, what all have we learned about cost engineering? Well, to get started, for us, Road was where it's at. It helps us organize what we're actually doing with cost and bring it back to improving the overall ecosystem. No more reactive incident response. We're all about being proactive, looking forward. It's all possible with Unity Catalog. Without Unity Catalog, we wouldn't have the visibility we needed, and we would also lack access to a lot of these new product features like predictive optimization. And finally, direct savings. We are saving millions of dollars every single year because we use Databricks. And I have complete confidence you can do the exact same with implementing similar strategies. So now I'd like to bring Bruce back up for some closing thoughts.
Thanks, Claire. So, Hopefully you all have something actionable to do. Go save yourself some money so that you can bring yourself into the agentic future. Invest in those AIs. So I wanted to spend a little bit of time kind of forward-looking about data platform's role in this agentic future. If you all think humans spend a lot of money on data, just wait till you have agents that have access to a lot of data. And so it's super important for you to have the right platform that has the right controls and the right governance in place. And the interesting thing is when you think about cost controls, when you think about data governance, it's actually the same exact problem that you're going to have with agents. The net is agents are going to do way more automagically on our behalf. And so it just becomes 100 times more important that we actually do a really good job governing our data platforms. One of the things I love about Databricks is I have a visual here about the city below the ground and above the ground. And this is why I love building on Databricks. Databricks sort of takes care of the plumbing underneath. It's sort of the infrastructure beneath the city. I don't have to worry about this stuff. But on the flip side, as a platform engineer, I get to work on making the city beautiful. Where should I put the parks? Where should I put the roads? Where should I build the skyscrapers? I get to focus on that value proposition and build a beautiful city. The plumbing underneath is super important, though. There's so many things that are necessary to do this, but thanks to Databricks, I get them out of the box for free. Things like access control, things like audit logging, things like system tables and cost control. And then every now and then, we're also going to get things like predictive optimization to even make it even better for us. So I'd like to say that the building your data platform team is also important of choosing which data platform you pick. And Databricks is a great platform for you all to pick as you build your teams. So if you liked our talk, there's a couple other talks that we've done here at the conference. So our platform team has done 10 talks at the conference. This is, we've actually done most of them yesterday, so earlier in the conference, so catch the recording. We had one on our multi-cloud platform. This is like, we're deployed across all the cloud providers in all the different regions. So if you want to hear about how to do that at scale and securely, we have a talk on that. We also have a talk on our ingestion platform, how to do that well so that we don't have to spend precious engineering effort on writing ingestion pipelines. We can actually get that done with a few platform engineers. We also have a talk about our biggest workspace at the company and how we leverage Unity Catalog there. What's our catalog strategy and what that looks like. We also have one about advanced data access. So we have a really cool access paradigm for massive scale data access on some of the most interesting ways that we're looking at that. And then we also have our SIM team. We built our security SIM on top of Databricks, and so we did a talk on that as well. If you liked hearing me speak, I'll be doing another talk tomorrow. This is sort of a 20,000-foot view of how we use Databricks across Databricks on everything. And then we also have, Clara mentioned, we have a metric store. We actually have that talk as well tomorrow as well. And that's a fantastic talk about how we do metric consistency, how we can lift the paradigm from having everyone interact with tables and views and rather interact with metrics instead. So thanks to Gen AI, we have a little bit of a nice closing poem for you all. So, in the realms of data, where insights gleam,
We've talked of money, a flowing stream,
Databricks power a gliding light.
to optimize spend and make things right.
From costly clusters to savings grand.
We've charted courses hand in hand
With road in mind, we found the way.
to make our investments truly pay.
Efficiency gained, a budget's grace.
In this presentation, time and space,
We're filled with knowledge, shared with care.
on AI and how best to prepare.
So count your pennies, Make them grow.
With Databricks, let your wisdom show.
And innovation seeds will start to sow. Thank you all.
Oh, and
Lastly, please do complete your surveys. It does help us curate the content at the conference.
Thank you, Bruce. Thank you, Clara. Great presentation.